On this glorious day, the Legend of Zelda movie began filming. It has left the pre-production stages, and now it has entered the full production stage. They're in New Zealand filming with the cast, making this absolute masterpiece of a film. I am so excited. I am so excited for the Legend of Zelda movie to outgross all the Lord of the Rings movies. I'm so excited for this to become the biggest fantasy film of the decade. I'm so excited to see this go on to be seen as like one of the greatest fantasy films of all time. And there is, much like with the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which had similar characteristics, there is going to be a lot of coping and seething about it. You know, I am. I fully expect people to bend over backwards, like attacking this film, saying it's garbage, that it makes no sense, that it doesn't respect the Zelda IP, that it's woke, that it's doing this and this. And we've seen a little bit of that already. Earlier this year, before they announced the cast, there was that ridiculous rumor, that unfounded thing where they said that some guy was going to play Zelda, and it was like something that people took completely seriously, And of course, that rumor was completely bunk. It was debunked, and then the same people went on and they started screaming about how the Switch 2 was going to fail. And now that that's been debunked, the same people are trying to tell you that like the patents in Japan have been rejected and that there's nothing Nintendo can do to amend and then resubmit them. It's like these people are just completely delusional. They are completely out of touch with society. They have no idea how big the Zelda movie is going to be. And this is the absolute saddest situation I have seen out of these people. Like, just the stubborn refusal to admit that the Nintendo movies are going to be way bigger than the MCU. The Zelda movie is going to be way bigger than Lord of the Rings. It's going to have way more films. They're all going to be higher quality. They're all going to have like better special effects and better action, a better story, right? Like the Lord of the Rings movies were slop, okay? They were terrible adaptations of Tolkien's work. They were subversive. They were woke. And it needs to be shouted to the rooftops that Zelda is bigger than Lord of the Rings. It actually has momentum behind it. They actually release new products. They're actually constantly expanding the lore, the setting, the worlds, the characters, like the storylines. Like all of it is just so fantastic, so much fun, endlessly enjoyable, and just far surpasses Tolkien's slop. Tolkien wasn't even the best fantasy writer in his friend group. So, with all that being said, The Legend of Zelda is going to be a really interesting film to watch the development of. It's going to be really cool, like seeing that first trailer, seeing the announcements, seeing like this thing finally release in May 2027. Um, we are quite a ways off from release, and I am definitely eagerly awaiting the release of this thing. It's something that I waited my entire life for. So the fact of the matter is, this thing is going to be phenomenal. I am so excited. And everyone else is just doing everything they can to soy jack and like try and downplay it. I would imagine much like with the Mario movie, a lot of film industry people aren't going to think very much of this at all. They're going to do the same thing they always do, where they're just like, "Oh, it's just a kids thing. It's not important. It's not cultured enough. There aren't enough homosexuals. Like, oh, it doesn't have Quentin Tarantino seal of approval." Or like, and in reality, people are just going to be wild about it. People are going to love the movie. They're going to love everything it does. They're going to love everything this movie is and what it stands for, because it will be an actual film. Okay, it won't be Quentin Tarantino like trying to convince you that like Bruce Lee would lose a fight against his Mary Sue protagonist. Like, it is like going to be an actual fantasy film with a lot of money put into it and a lot of effort from actual talent at Nintendo and Hollywood. You are going to see an actually good, well produced, engaging video game movie, possibly the best ever made, while the rest of the industry sits there and tries to gaslight you into thinking that somehow that Castlevania Netflix is better. It's it's going to be that kind of situation. It's going to be the same kind of thing we see with the video games, right? Where Breath of the Wild completely stomped Skyrim, stomped Witcher 3, stomped Cyberpunk 2077, stomped Red Dead Redemption 2, stomped Baldur's Gate 3, and yet we're still in this weird situation where everyone wants to pretend that like Breath of the Wild is just wasn't that big of a deal, and that it wasn't some cultural phenomenon, and that people didn't grow up playing it, and that it's not some like massive success story. Like, no, like Breath of the Wild long term is a way bigger success than Skyrim will ever be. Because Skyrim was just a fad, like, oh man, look at me. I can walk around in one direction and not run out of places to go. Like, look at me. I'm in an open world, and there's nothing to do with it, and there's no depth to it at all. But like, oh man, it's like I'm a hobbit wandering the Shire. Oh, Zelda had actual gameplay to it. It had actual mechanics. It had a physics engine. It had actual thought put into the structure and the gameplay, and just the depth of the combat. It's not an open world game anymore. It's open air. And so long term, Breath of the Wild established, set the template, and built up Tears of the Kingdom, which was a huge success story in its own right. And by the way, Skyrim still has not gotten a sequel. Tears of the Kingdom was a huge success in its own right, and it's going to get a follow up. That's going to get a new game like at some point in the future. Like, and again, that's something that none of these other developers can do. Like, none of them are going to be able to put out a Donkey Kong Bonanza or a Mario Kart World or a Tears of the Kingdom. Like, the level of quality between these games and their immediate competition is palpable. Like, it is insane how much better Zelda is than Elden Ring when you actually take the time to play Zelda. Like, anybody who thinks Elden Ring is better simply hasn't really played Zelda. So the same thing is going to be true for films. Okay. Like, films have been like going downhill for a long time. All they are just special effects fests where like Michael Bay like tries to sell you this fantasy of some dude who mans up and like bangs Megan Fox. Like, it's not like about actually establishing a world or a setting or telling a meaningful story or being fun or engaging. It is just a a vehicle to try and throw a bunch of special effects at you. Like, that's the real reason superhero films were so popular, is that like nobody cared about the characters, the storylines, the lore. Like, oh, special effects. Zelda isn't going to be like that. Zelda is going to be way better produced. It's going to be better paced. It's going to have more action. It's going to have a better written script. It's going to be this incredible cultural phenomenon that Nintendo will produce to build up their brand and demolish all of these other mediocre Hollywood competitors. Nintendo has won.